Write that down for me, Saito. Write that down for me, Saito.
Hello from Burbank, California. Thank you for joining us once again. Another episode of Write That Down this week on the Fight Game Media Network. I'm Justin Nipper. I edit for FightGameMedia.com. I write on WrestlingObserver.com. I also work for Pro Wrestling No and Cyberfight. And this week I'm back again with Japan's leading pro wrestling author and sociologist and historian, broadcast journalist, all-around fantastic fellow, Mr. Fumi Saito. This week, finally, we got to cover Kenta Kobashi. We went over his entire career, talked about his struggles early on fitting in with such a packed roster filled with wrestlers who had prestigious amateur wrestling backgrounds, sumo backgrounds, whereas Kobashi would come in to All Japan Pro Wrestling purely out of passion for pro wrestling. I think he's arguably pro wrestling's best babyface of all time. There's an argument to be made for sure. But if you've been listening to the show for a while, this one's been a long time coming and it was fun to do, so enjoy it like we did. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the Fight Game Media Network podcast feed on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you usually listen to your podcasts, because it helps us out very much. Without further ado, and happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Before we get started, enjoy this over your break. But yeah, let's get into it. Happy Thanksgiving, happy Kenta Kobashi Day. Okay, so today, Kenta Kobashi, I mean, we're trying to, if you had to rank him among the four of the top four from that All Japan we were talking about, it's hard to rank him and compare him with Misawa and Kawada because of his background. That's one of the first things you have to factor in when you're comparing him with the others from All Japan at that time.
Misawa, the high school champion, Kawada, high school champion, and of course Akira Taue as Tamakirin, that big time sumo wrestler, and even Tsuyoshi Kikuchi, he was high school amateur champion. Yeah,
and later Jun Akiyama was like
college champion. Yeah,
so he even though he was a big, athletic, good-looking guy who wanted to wrestle, he didn't have the exact background they were looking for.
What Baba was looking for. Yeah. Same story with people like, Yoshinari Ogawa.
Mm-hmm.
He played baseball, and he realized that first year in, Mr. and Mrs. Baba would pick who's going to be starting and who's not going to be.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? That's like devastating for rookie to look at, you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Like, oh, wow, I'm going to be around, but they're not going to push me, right? Or something like that. So against all odds, yes, Kenta Kobashi became much, much bigger star than the company expected.
Mm-hmm.
This is a real big success story right there.
He had to fight a lot more than
I think so.
those others.
I think so. Mm-hmm. And also, we talk about big four. Well, we can go through that, four pillars of heaven story too. But the shitennō is Japanese word for it. Four big ones. Shi, 4. 10, heaven. No is like a king. So that's how they translate 3 different kanji and put together the pillar, the heaven. What was that? Pillars of heaven? 4 pillars of heaven.
4 pillars of heaven, the heavenly kings. It's hard to describe if you don't. It's rooted in.
Shitennou is one word,
and it's from a more Asian Buddhist background.
Yeah.
So it's like
nothing to do with this heaven thing.
Yeah, I mean it's heaven, but it's not Judeo-Christian heaven. It's
right.
But basically,
it's up there, but
it's more it's like saying the Big Four.
Big Four.
It's the Big Four.
Yeah.
And it's a common word. It's not just for wrestling.
No, this is a regular term. Shitennou, 4 big ones.
Yeah.
And one word.
Just like Three Musketeers. It's same idea. Just
we can say 3 samurai, worked for the castle or something.
Sure.
Yes, 3 Musketeers is another word that we use a lot.
Mm.
For either 3 or 4, but this is a 4 big one. And you say Misawa, Kawada, Taue, and Kobashi, right? And they were actually like in the same age group besides Kobashi. Taue born 1961, Misawa born 1962, Kawada born 1963. But Kobashi was 1967, so it's like 5 years younger than other guys. Yeah. So he felt that too when he started. Yeah, it's like his Kenta Kobashi is such a success story. So I don't even know where to start, but um, this
Well,
is a
let's
good
talk
story.
about let's talk
Yeah,
about when he wrote. We were just talking about it before we started recording, but when
yeah,
he wanted to be a pro wrestler, and he
yeah.
wrote a letter, or he sent his resume to.
Sent his resume and photo to All Japan Pro Wrestling.
Mm.
That's he felt that he thought that's how you apply for your job, right?
Hmm.
Sending your bio, athletic resume and the photo, like upper body photo.
Actually, could you explain that a little bit? Because in Japan, the resume expectations or the template for what you send out
What
after college is it's different than,
is it common?
it's a
Oh,
little bit more
you felt
extreme.
what's different, unique to Japan?
Well, you're required to put your photo on it. That's one very different
Right,
part of
that's
it.
like almost like a discrimination now, right?
Hmm.
Because you don't judge by the look.
And it has to be like 2 or 3 pages, and it's all about having a lot of content on it, a lot of words, a lot of text, beefing it
Yeah,
up
like
as much as you
even
can.
like a grade, what grade school you went to, and what year
Yeah.
and what month you graduated from, what junior high and what high school, and this and that, right? Yeah.
And it's often, I mean, when it's just common in Japan when someone graduates from university, this is what
You
they do
apply.
for the first, year or two, or even more for some people. You go through this
Yeah, and then
resume
company go
process.
through these paper bio, then they'll pick who they want to have job interviews. So
Hmm.
some people are not gonna make job interview even.
Hmm. Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, yeah. It's like I didn't realize that you felt was like a system and the custom was a little bit strange, huh?
It's more rigid than I think what we're used to over in the States, or maybe like on a CV in UK, for example.
Oh, okay,
Different,
okay,
just
okay.
a different format. Same idea,
Yeah,
just different.
but it's a common, common practice and common sense kind of thing that
Mhm.
that young 18-year-old Kenta Kobashi, actually like a 19 then, because he's right after high school, he didn't think he was big enough, physically, that he started working for this big factory called Kyoto Ceramic, Kyocera, big factory worker. And he's, asked the, factory chief or your factory boss that please buy this or the weight sets and put up in the roof and then let's start the bodybuilding club,
Mm.
and yeah, he was the only one pumping iron every night, but he sent this written form of resume redec show thing and photo and apply for like a rookie position, right?
Mhm. Just like any
And
other person would apply for a job after
yeah, yeah.
graduating. Same
Meaning that
system.
he had no connection to wrestling, like
Hmm.
wrestling people inside the promoter or any wrestler that he knew personally. Is he from front door, knock the front door, that's sending a letter to All Japan office in Tokyo, you know.
Hmm.
And a couple weeks later, he got the letter back from All Japan office. He thought it was all right, accepted, right?
Mm.
Then he opened the letter saying that uh, read your bio, not accepted. That was the end of it. So,
Mm.
what did I do wrong, right? What did I write wrong, or what was wrong with my like personal bio? He played. He was all through his childhood judo and played rugby, and after high school, he spent whole year, lifting weight and putting on weight, and he was all ready to become wrestler. He quit Kyoto Ceramic, and he was ready to come to Japan. Not to Japan, but he was ready to come to Tokyo, and to become wrestler. And it wasn't that smooth. So, can you imagine how hard it is to for from kind of country boy from like outside the Kyoto area that to call up All Japan office in Tokyo, pick up a phone. It's before, a little bit before your cell phone, decades before the internet, right?
Mm.
And he actually picked up a phone and called All Japan office to ask what was the reason that he didn't even make a paper, the bio. And the person answered the phone said, um, two reasons that you don't have very good athletic background,
Mm.
and number two, little bit too old. He was 20 at the time.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, like right out of high school, 18, yes, but you don't have very good athletic background, meaning that yeah, the jumbo, like Giant Baba, the former baseball player, major, Giants baseball player, Jumbo Tsura, 1972 Munich Olympic, the Tenru, the big, sumo star turned wrestler, um, Misawa, high school champion, Kawada, high school champion. Yeah, you do have, yeah, these, like really, yeah, almost like a premier athletic amateur background, huh?
Mm.
Right.
Especially at the time,
At the
especially
time, yeah,
late
when you only have
80s.
like a 3 or 4 companies in Japan, All Japan, New Japan, and UWF Group.
And all the
Yeah.
top stars had that background for the most part.
Right, right, and then
Whether
and
it
then
was
we thought it
wrestling,
was, yeah,
sumo.
right. We thought it was normal, but it was really hard to get into business at the time, huh?
Yeah, there was no direct way to get in unless
Hmm.
you knew somebody or related somebody.
Yeah, but they think about like a young 15-year-old Atsushi Onita came right from Kyushu, Nagasaki to Baba's office, and he was accepted
Mm,
when he was 15. Probably Baba looked at it and said, this kid had something,
that's a long
you know?
trip.
Yeah,
Very long
well,
trip.
yeah, the 15-year-old Atsushi Onita hitchhiked from Nagasaki to Tokyo, you know?
That's pretty. I mean, it's
That's another story for another
right.
great, yeah,
It's his
great story for
character.
another. Yeah.
It's in his character.
Yeah,
That's a
right when
far.
he was 15, huh?
That is not. I mean, Nagasaki's an island, so I mean, it's not easy to get. It was not easy to get
Yeah,
there.
so it's not one hitchhike, it's like a days and days,
Yeah,
right?
that was
He
a
must have
hardcore journey.
stood by the freeway or highway and just pointing his thumb up and like, "Can I get a ride?"
Hmm.
That's what 15-year-old Onita did. Anyhow, that the Kobashi called his All Japan office. It's like that's like a big challenge, picking up a phone, speaking professional language, like almost like, may I speak to whom it may concern, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, and then this person said, you okay? Well, we do have a paper here that you don't have very good athletic background, and you're a little bit too old to start.
Hmm.
Ah, what? Just turning 20, and later on, Kobashi himself told me that, that the same group of rookie who, started together, there are the three wrestlers, Kenta Kobashi and Tsuyoshi Kikuchi and Tatsumi Kitahara, later on Koki Kitahara.
Hmm.
Kikuchi is 2 years older than Kobashi, and Kitahara was 3 years older than Kobashi. It's like that doesn't really make any sense, right?
Hmm.
And
But they had the background in wrestling. At least Kikuchi did.
and also Kitahara was
Okay.
instructor at the Sayama's shooting dojo.
Oh, okay. So he
Yeah,
had
that's a
a
good background, right?
striking background. Okay.
Instructor at the Satoru Sayama's shuto dojo.
Was
That's like a guaranteed tough guy, huh?
that was also a very big dojo. There were a lot of people that trained there, even if they didn't become fighters. Those classes were with 50, 60 people in them, and the
Yeah,
shuto
then
was hot
also
around the time.
Kitahara must have had Sayama's blessing to be an instructor there.
Hmm.
Yeah,
So Kobashi didn't have any of this coming into it. He had nothing no
taller than either
connections.
of them,
He had his own.
bigger
He had his.
than.
Yeah, he was a big dude. He had his looks. He had passion for it, but he didn't have the maybe the background they were looking
Yeah, and
for.
then so he tried couple times, to try to get them more reasons. Can I speak with somebody that I can explain this to, or and after second in the phone conversation, he was told to come to this middle of nowhere house show in the town I've never heard of. That it was during the one tour. That but Mr. Baba decided to audition you, or at least meet you. And come to this so and so prefecture, so and so house shows, like no TVs. Like during the long tour. I mean, it's like house shows that nobody comes to. I mean, people come locally, but you know, you would think you would be auditioned at the Tokyo Korakuen Hall, right?
Right, but these
It,
shows they're a little bit maybe less energy
yeah,
than
in the middle of nowhere town, but one of those night in like a house shows during the school nights, right?
usually at the recreation center in the town, very bright, not a dark place, but like
Yeah, the existing lights.
hmm or
Yeah,
daylight or whatever.
yeah, but all right, I'm coming, and it's like he took trains and tried to look, like before Google Map, right?
Hmm
He got to the town, it was like a big test number one. If all right, I'm not coming to that little town, right? Then that would be the end of it.
Mm.
The office tested you that first that come to this town, and that's the only day Baba can meet you. And he took trains and just looked at the map, and it took another train, and from train it took bus into this town, and in a small town, but that's where he was going to meet Mr. Baba in person. Then he made it to town. Then had audition, like regular audition, like Hindu squats and push up and sit ups and do. And Baba look at you and say, right?
Mm.
Then he got okay that day.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And this was in
So
1988,
7.
87.
Yeah, yeah. The spring of 1987. He officially got to All Japan Dojo June of 1987. And he didn't even have Golden Rookie debut. His first match was December of 1987, the undercard battle royal. Isn't that interesting?
He didn't have it's very different from Jumbo Tsuruda's debut, for example.
Or Jun Akiyama,
Sure. So
yeah.
he started from the bottom.
Oh, pretty much bottom. Right, right. And he was trained under Baba, of course. And when Dory Funk came in, Dory Funk Jr. trained him a little bit. And late Haru Sonoda, the Magic Dragon, he trained him. And some weeks, Masafuchi trained him. So it's like anybody who was in the ring at the time might train you. You know what I mean?
Hmm
Yeah. So he was really nobody rookie kind of thing, huh?
And he lost all of his matches for a couple
About a
years.
year, yeah,
It
a
was
year or two
like 60 matches or something.
in a row.
Yeah.
So he started, but it was relatively quick. It takes usually 10 months to a year for All Japan Rookie to debut. But he got in dojo June of 1987 and had a first battle royal match. In December. You know, and the very official debut match was following February 1988 against late Motoshi Okuma, the second match. Very much undercard, don't you think?
Mm.
Yeah.
Not the exciting part of the show, especially back then. It was just
Yeah, against 45-year-old Motoshi Okuma. Yeah.
that was the style though. All Japan, they usually had a pretty kind of slower,
Yeah.
modest
Yeah.
undercard.
Unless you're a golden rookie, huh?
Mm. Yeah, yeah.
And it was very interesting All Japan dojo tradition that you usually don't have your own tights or ring shoes. There's at the All Japan dojo. There's a big cardboard box that the veteran or experienced wrestler tossed this his old trunks and shoes. I'm not going to use this tights or the knee pad or this ring shoes too old, so I'm not going to use it. Somebody can use it and put them in the box, right?
hmm
He found blue trunks and Masafuchi's old ring boots. That's what he wore. The blue trunks was interesting one that the It was part of two sets, blue trunks and the blue tights, long tights, blue long tights and blue trunks that the Misawa used only 6 months in Mexico.
Hmm.
And he brought it back, and he's not going to use it because he was already Tiger Mask, second
That's
Tiger
right.
Mask. Yeah, so he had this blue trunks and blue long tights. It was in a box, and young Kobashi, 20-year-old Kobashi, found this blue trunks. All right, I'm gonna wear this, right? And then there's another, like a beat up ring boots that looks like Masafuchi's old boots. All right, I got the costume. That's like almost cute, right? In a way.
I mean, he really was not granted anything. He wasn't presented anything or handed anything at the start. He
But
seems
that's what made Kenta Kobashi though, huh? I
that's
mean,
what made him
not very
gritty.
happy, happy start, but that's what the old Japan, because it's almost like a bowling, huh? A little bit, but it's like a discipline part. Yeah, and later on that your character image color will be given, and you have certain image. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
The But he had spent whole year 1988 undercard, right? And also Greg Kabuki at the time told young Kobashi to go wash Baba's back, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. So he one night without any formal plan that he became Baba's guy, to carry his bag, That's one step forward, huh?
That's a big responsibility. I mean,
He had to carry Giant Baba's two big suitcase, and while he's taking shower, he's right outside. And what he, if Baba wants something, he'd probably wash his, back, or like a hand towels, or what I'm saying.
you're
He'll be
almost
staying,
like their personal assistant.
yeah, like almost like a butler, huh? Yeah,
It was
but
the
that's a
same for a
Ricky
lot of big wrestlers. They had to do the same, like
at the
something like
time. At the time,
even
yes,
even
yes,
like
it's a
Okada and Ultimo Dragon, same kind of relationship.
right. It's a Rikidoza and Baba Inoki tradition that carried over 60 years, huh?
And it's the tradition in martial arts as well. From
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, the disciples, right?
same
Yeah.
idea.
Same idea. So he spent entire 1988 like that, and Baba saw something in him, right? And there was a very interesting matchup in 1989, March of 1989 to be exact. Baba decided to tag with young Kenta Kobashi to challenge Asian Tag Team title. Baba never challenged that title, right?
hmm
So it was Baba's idea to elevate him one step. Baba and young Kobashi challenged Toshiaki Kawada and Samson Fuyuki's Asian Tag Team title. The
Ah,
very first,
Footloose.
yeah, Footloose, yeah, yeah. Well, because Footloose was on fire, and they probably needed interesting challenger. And Baba, almost like a playful, right? That he,
Mm.
Baba himself, 1989 version of Giant Baba challenging Asian Tag Team title. Wow! But his Baba's partner was then rookie Kobashi, so that will make pretty interesting match. But it was very special for Kobashi, to have that. Yeah. And following year, that he and Misawa's version of Tiger Mask had their first Asian tag team title. So you could tell from Asian tag team title to this to the singles competition to going to champion carnival, or to compete in a real world tag team tournament in December, that kind of thing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So he got the
So
rub though. He got the Baba kind of
yeah, finally got the Baba's blessing. Yeah.
yeah, and this is kind of where people might have taken more of an interest in him.
Yeah. And at the time he was still wearing the the tights and the shoes that he found at the dojo.
hmm
He one night he was wearing red, and Baba told him red looks good on you. Okay, red tights. That he already found it at the dojo, and the blue tights that he had from Misawa, and there was another blue and red trunks with star on it. Probably Jumbo Tsuruta left it there, right? Doesn't that look like it?
It's probably the case.
Yeah, yeah, or young Koshinaka's, Koshinaka's trunks or something. Yeah, but anyhow, that it wasn't even his. He didn't get this neon color, bright orange tights until 1990, and it was at the Tokyo Dome where he started. The Tokyo Dome, 1990, meaning at the Wrestling Summit,
Wrestling Summit with WWF and
WWF,
New Japan.
WWE, New Japan, and Old Japan combined shows. Hulk Hogan against Stan Hansen, the Baba Andre the Giant against Demolition, the Tenryu against Macho Man Randy Savage, and all these things that actually young Kobashi was there too. Isn't that interesting?
And that's where the Orange Crush tights came.
Yeah,
came into
yeah, right. So that became his image color rest of the time that he was with All Japan, all the way to like 2000. So yeah, I guess he wore the neon color orange bright tights for 10 years then. Yeah. And he liked it. And actually that the idea of neon color orange tights came from Baba and real famous singer that what's his name? From you might know his name. Chiharu Matsuyama Chiharu. He's a singer, that who's a friend with Baba. It's like nobody's wearing neon color or orange. So how about that? And Kobashi wasn't sure, but somebody said you would look really good with this orange tights, and nobody else is. Actually, on the other side, in Muto, New Japan, Muto was already wearing neon color orange at the time.
That's
but
right.
What happens on the other side doesn't matter, right? So within all Japan ring, nobody was wearing this bright neon orange color tights, so that became his.
And Kobashi's were a little bit more. They were clearly orange.
Clearly orange, right?
Like Muto's had a neon flashiness to it. It was a slight, subtle difference.
Right, and wasn't exactly like a white boots either. So Kobashi had a white and orange boots, yeah. And that's important, right? And he actually started becoming part of the 1990 was also the year Tenryu and his 15 guys went to SWS, Super World Sports, right? And also 1990 was the year Misawa took off his tiger mask and became Mitsuharu Misawa. Therefore, the new era began, right? And the momentum was there for new era. And then the Kobashi was pretty ready, to be not, to be elevated, and
Well, he was a natural. I mean, he wasn't a perfect version of himself at that point, but for the most part, the Kobashi we saw in the early '90s is it's an early version of what he'd become for the rest of his career.
Later on, yes.
Yeah, he was pretty like a lot of the other guys from this time period when they started.
Yeah, and then Kawada, no more footloose costume, but he became just black and yellow, right?
That's right too, and he started. He was kind of wrestling almost like a junior heavyweight style, a little bit more.
Before that,
he got serious.
I guess we have to rewind the tape a little, about a year or so. That when Kobashi was still rookie, he was being what do you call it, like a punching bag, or almost like a guinea pig for two wrestlers. That at the time, the rookie, Akira Taue actually started like 2 months after Kobashi came in. Did you know that? Well, Akira Taue, tall and big guy, but he was a former, Tamakirin, that sumo wrestler. And there was another sumo wrestler, Isao Takagi. He was Takuetsuyama. And it's like both big sumo wrestler turned professional wrestler. Baba thought those two are going to be something, right? Akira Taue and Isao Takagi, and used Kobashi for the practice in the ring. Like Baba's teaching, right? And both Takagi and Taue throwing drop kicks to Kobashi, doing body slam to Kobashi, doing a brainbuster to Kobashi. And Baba said, well, get up, do it again. Get up and do it again. And wasn't really training Kobashi. Baba was training two big rookies, Akira Taue and Isao Takagi. Takagi later on joined Tenryu's group and pretty much disappeared after that. But Akira Taue and this Isao Takagi, two big rookies from sumo, was like a Baba's project at the time. And Kobashi was there for to take bumps, I guess, And
he was a practice dummy.
Yeah, practice dummy. But Kobashi, in person told me about this story because he wanted to tell somebody about it, And all right, it's like this is the way it is right now, but it's not going to be like this forever. And he just was telling himself that this is something he has to go through, but he just knew he'll be better than these two. Isn't that interesting?
It gives you
Not
a
telling him.
glimpse of the system. The
Mm-hmm.
system was tough to get through, especially if you weren't.
Like have like a real good amateur wrestling background
Yeah,
or
you needed some
athletic
kind of
background,
inside.
sumo background, or yeah,
You needed something. You needed the background. You needed to have connections.
yeah, more than being a big body wrestling fan, right?
Mm.
Yeah, but it is willingness, and the will, and yeah, Kobashi is very interesting that he was very humble and very quiet, not being vocal about it like today's kids might. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Yeah. If that's how you survive all Japan system, sort of, because I believe New Japan Dojo, it's like more of a it's like you always have more rookies, like 10 guys practicing together. But if you only have a two or three rookie together, it's like it's completely different environment. You just have to be like keep your mouth shut and go through this, and I'll make it. Or a lot of guys from All Japan Dojo, they disappeared at night. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
Yeah.
More
Not that.
similar to traditional martial arts,
Yeah, a lot
grappling.
of rookies do disappear from All Japan. I mean, New Japan Dojo too.
Hmm.
But
Some don't make it through
once,
the initial training, the
yeah, the first
test.
year. Right, right. So then you become young lion, right? But All Japan don't have that many. Like they never have like a dozen rookie a year. Two or three of them just make it, and some years they went through 5 years with no rookies. Yeah. So it's different kind of environment because you have more older wrestlers around. Yeah.
Yeah, different
And
environment, and it kind of builds a different sort of character.
I think so.
I
And
think the
in
four in All Japan and the three in New Japan at that time had different flavor and personalities. The nuances were very different, and I think
nuance is very different. Right.
in
Right.
All Japan is much more. Uh, how do you explain that gambaru?
Closed society or the
Oh no,
family.
I was gonna say there's that too. Not the. I was thinking more about the one way to think about Kenta Kobashi is to think about the word. I don't know. It's a hard concept to explain, but just the word gambaru to do your
Yeah. Yeah.
best,
Right. Right. Stick with it. Right.
and that concept and how deep it runs, it just in
In a way, it's
everybody.
very Japanese, huh?
And I think yes, and it's a good thing, and I think that's one of Kenta Kobashi's maybe one of his strongest points. I think a lot of people see and like that in him, that Gambaru spirit. That
Mm-hmm.
he's the. I'm not doing a good job of articulating, I don't think, but
It's okay, but no, no. By going through, what he has done and what he has, gone through, that I hope we are going to, be able to really give this feeling and it's
mm,
Kobashi's story, and he really did become part of the main event package by what 93? Yeah,
hmm.
yeah,
I
because
think what was it? It was either maybe his matches with Steve Williams, I think from around that time, or Stan
94.
Hansen,
Yeah,
93, 94.
he did not challenge his triple crown title until like 94. You know,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, with Steve Williams being triple crown champion and Kobashi his first title, like a major title challenge at the main event of at the Budokan show. That's big show, right?
Mm.
And taking Steve Williams' dangerous backdrop driver and then getting up from it. And Steve Williams himself told me that this guy has a lot of heart, you know.
Mm.
And yeah, because Steve Williams, as tough as he was never that smooth, high spot, that wrestler. He just goes out and does his thing,
Hmm.
And
Kind of
sometimes
a
happen to be
perfect
great match.
opponent for
Yeah.
Kobashi.
And so sometimes happen to be good match. Sometimes just whoa, it's like, well, what's that about? Kind of match. Yeah,
Very
that's still good.
realistic.
Oh, very realistic. And again, wrestling has no language barrier that you just go out there and wrestle, And that was test for Kobashi, And actually, there was a time that Misawa decided to take Kobashi as his tag team partner, regular tag team partner. You would think at the time Misawa and Kawada would be your ideal tag team, huh? Around that time period.
Well,
But
you said I want to bring up that was also around the time that they had their first Kawada and Misawa had their first singles match,
right,
and that's
and
kind of when the rivalry began heating
it
up.
really elevated Kawada from being a younger little brother of Misawa to an equal, right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
But where did that leave Kobashi? It left him, unfortunately, not any fault of his own. He's behind those two because.
Yeah, but Misawa and Kobashi became tag team partners, and Kawada and Taue became tag team partners.
Hmm.
It balanced. And evidently, 93, 94, 95, 3 years in a row, Misawa and Kawada won. I mean, Misawa and Kobashi, I'm sorry. Misawa and Kobashi won the real tag team tournament in December. 3 years in a row. No other team did that.
And among wrestling fans, not just in Japan, but all over the world, some of those matches are considered to be some of the best pro wrestling matches, period, of all time. Those tag team
Yeah,
matches.
yeah. And if you're
94,
not familiar with
95.
old Japan style at the time, it's like all you got to do is let this person watch the video. You don't need English commentary. You just watch the footage.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Although
So
the
it's going
commentary
up
is
there.
dramatic.
Oh yeah, Nippon TV, yeah. And also, what was interesting was Channel 4 and TV, Nippon TV Channel 4, is that they bring in their station announcer, not a wrestling person. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
These announcers, station announcers, do other sports like a marathon or figure skating or the baseball or other sports. So they come in and treat pro wrestling like you're a professional sport, and they really do a like professional play-by-play. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So it's not like they're acting. They get those network station sports announcers get excited by watching these guys. You know,
It probably added to the realism of the whole product.
probably, yeah.
It's easier
And
to take it seriously when the person on the serious sportscast takes it seriously.
mm-hmm. Yeah. So and also it was late Saturday night, but people really watched this. That see, All Japan Pro Wrestling didn't have very good time slot around that time period. It's like a late Saturday night. Like you're talking like 12:30 at night.
Mm.
And but people still tune in and watched and got like rating 0.6 or something, 6% rate. I mean, during the middle of the night, so it's like was high rate show for the midnight, time slot, and yeah, so it was just almost like a fixture, like watch wrestling before you go to bed, kind of thing.
Kind of tradition almost.
It became, and sure enough, in '96, he won his very first triple crown heavyweight title from Akira Taue in
Mm.
96. So it took him, like it started 87, 88. Yeah, good 7, 8 years. We fast forward a little bit, but yeah, he finally got his very first Triple Crown title from Akira Taue. But the it's important. He didn't beat Misawa for it. He didn't beat Kawada. He beat Akira Taue for that title.
Hmm.
One by one, huh?
So that means that becomes the talking point at the bar after the match. That's, well, Kobashi won, but it's Taue, so
Yeah, it's not
it's not
exactly
Misawa.
Misawa or Wada.
Hmm.
Yeah,
And it's
yeah.
not Stan Hansen.
Oh no, Stan. You know how many
So
times he got lariated by Stan Hansen? Oh
it,
yeah,
it,
it's the
I
famous footage. That.
I remember that Stan Hansen laid a lariat into him while he was Kobashi was standing on the top rope, just in the back of
Oh,
his
that
head.
one. Oh,
Towards the
yeah.
end of the match, it was just he took a lot of shit. Kobashi did,
Yeah,
and
Kobashi was taking a lot of, yeah, like solid moves from everybody, you know.
but by
Eh,
'96, I think that's definitely when the fans were 100% behind him. All
Right,
Japan.
right. And
Women
also,
were very
yeah, because he's a
fond of
handsome
him.
guy
Yeah.
and yeah, younger than Misawa and Kawada, you know.
Hmm.
Taue never had the vibe, you know what I'm saying?
No,
Yeah,
he looked older than he was.
right, right.
He
And also
reminded
around
everyone
the,
of
yeah,
Baba.
yeah, young Baba looking, huh? Yeah,
Mm.
red trunks and all that. Yeah. And around that time period, you know, Jumbo Tsuruta was pretty much gone from the main scene. You know,
Hmm.
he had took years off, and he when he came back, he only did tag team match and was never in the main event cluster again. So it was Big Four era. And following year '97, Kobashi formed his own faction called Get.
Hmm.
Kobashi and Johnny as in the Patriot, Del Wilkes.
That's right.
So yeah, remember Get?
Johnny Ace and Kobashi had a nice tag team run for a couple of years in the
Yeah,
late
yeah.
'90s.
The both World Tag Team Champions and Asian Tag Team Champions won there. Yeah. Well, see, actually, during his All Japan career, Kobashi won the World Tag Team title like 6 times. Twice with Misawa, twice with Johnny Ace, twice with Akiyama. Yeah. And that Get, Johnny Ace and Patriot group, that a little bit later on it became Burning,
Hmm.
that Kobashi took Jun Akiyama into his group and formed a new tag team called Burning, and then won the '98 and '99 World Tag Team Tournament. So all in all, he's winning like five tournaments, the tag team tournaments. So that's up there, huh?
Hmm.
Yeah. And while he was in All Japan Pro Wrestling, he won the Triple Crown 3 times. One time beating Taue, another time beating Kawada. In year 2000, right before the formation of Pro Wrestling Noah, he beat Vader for that title,
That's
but
right.
not once from Misawa. It doesn't happen until Pro Wrestling Noah day.
Hmm.
Isn't that interesting?
That was the story, and the story seemed to feel. We won't fast forward yet, but the story finishes in Noah, not in All Japan, between those two.
Right, right, right.
But I remember the Vader win being very big. That was a big
Yeah.
deal. And
And while Stan Hansen was slowing down and he was getting ready to actually retire, was going to give that his position to Vader. Yeah.
and uh, Kobashi had even changed his look a little bit. He had the goatee
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
a little bigger, but it was turning. The time was moving on, and Misawa
And
Kawada were
Kobashi
getting
not
old.
doing his moonsault, but to start using right arm clothesline
Right arm
as his finish.
clothesline. He
Yeah.
started debuting those wild moves like Burning Hammer.
Right. More of a striking. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Because I guess that the moonsault was for the younger part of his career, huh?
But he would always bust it out on a special occasion
Right.
or in a big
Right.
match.
Mm-hmm. So it really evolved in front of the audience. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And he was a complete babyface. And if you remember All Japan wrestlers, they don't grab a house microphone and say things.
Hmm.
Yeah, no promo at all. It just they tell story with matches. No agitation, no big promo like you're either babyface or heels. It's just they just don't do it. And as hard as they wrestle during the match, it doesn't make any sense if they get up and do the mic. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah, because they
Not
work
necessary.
until they can't stand up anymore. And yeah, it was like Baba was in tears, in his color commentary table.
That's
It was
right.
like,
Yeah, he was crying.
remember that one?
Hmm.
Yeah, because Baba is like the type of person, he doesn't often pat guys back, right? And even if you're doing well, that he said he just nods. All right, very good,
That's
very
the
good.
classic style. That's the classic.
Like Godfather style.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's the
yeah,
style.
yeah. And then
It's not common to praise
during the
lots.
broadcasting, during during the match, while Kobashi and Misawa is having this great, tremendous match, that the announcer looked at Baba. It's like Baba's in tears. Oh my gosh, Mr. Baba's crying, sir. It's like,
Well, and Baba
yeah,
is the one who probably he might have been the first doubter Kenta Kobashi
yeah,
had, and
yeah.
he really overcame all of that. And that's a real
Hmm.
story, you know.
That's a real story,
Those are
and
the
no
real,
wrestling story. Yeah, right.
yeah. So
That's why it's like it's very, it's easy to believe in Kobashi. Really, all you got to do is watch his match. Not a character, but his matches and his energies, the way he does things. Probably the facial expression too, but it just tells it all. Yeah.
everything. I think anybody on the planet would see him, and they don't need to know any information on him, and they would immediately say he's got to be a pro wrestler.
Yeah, the
He must
body
be.
and
He looks like,
yeah.
you know, he's a classic, timeless baby face.
Yeah, yeah, and amazing. Never done promo. You know what I mean?
Hmm. He might say something very polite at the end of the match, like "Thank you, everyone."
Thank you very much for coming in. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, I won
thank
the
you for the
title today.
match.
Thank you very much. Yeah, that's about it.
Very
Yeah,
humble.
very humble. Very humble. Yeah, and
But in the
that's
match,
all Japan upbringing kind of thing. Yeah, very
yeah,
very humble.
show your stuff in the match and be humble afterwards. Not much need for chatting or long-winded
No, so it's very
promos.
different. Yeah, that's a very old Japan style, huh?
Mm,
And so year 2000, he won both Triple Crown and won the Champion Carnival tournament.
hmm
Yeah.
He's probably around his
Then
peak in his whole career at this point, I would say. I mean, he
around
was,
2000, yeah.
yeah,
Then June of 2000, the Misawa and his guys, meaning that everybody from all Japan roster, but Kawada and Fuchi and the ring crew to ring announcer to referee to everybody, pretty much everybody, right?
backstage, office people,
Office
everyone.
people too, right? So to get on Noah's Ark and forming Pro Wrestling Noah, it was Misawa's idea, and Kawa was Kobashi was the first person, yeah. And then the Pro Wrestling Noah era starts. The first thing they did was that they changed color. And
Hmm.
Misawa didn't change color. It's always, this emerald green and silver. That's his color. But Kobashi's neon orange ties was no more, and then he had these black trunks with purple in it. Remember?
That's right. It was
Yeah.
like the fires going out, the orange
And the
fires,
side, yeah, yeah, yeah.
like
And
coal, like burnt.
hmm and Jun Akiyama's tights from blue to like a silver white.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. And everybody pretty much changed costume, and people like the Yoshihiro Takayama came with them too.
That's
Into Pro
right.
Wrestling Noah. Yeah, yeah.
And
So it
even
was a big crew.
Vader,
Yeah, the
Scorpio.
Scorpio. Yeah, they went to Misawa went to Missouri and met with Harley Race and got a guys from Harley Race's camp, World Wrestling League, and brought in quite a few wrestlers. And the guys like Mike Modesty was like from California. Their
Hmm.
group came in, and yeah,
Donovan
for Misawa's
Morgan, Bison
yeah,
Smith.
Bison Smith, yes. Bison Smith, well, he died young too, but Bison Smith was like a big rookie too at the time.
Hmm.
Yeah.
But it all felt like that crew, that initial Noah crew, felt like they could be another foreign crew for All Japan at that time. It was the same,
It looked like these guys are all Japan. Yeah.
right? It was
Yeah.
same fit, same style that you would have
Sure.
seen. So if you
And
liked,
to run, yeah, and start running Budokan shows, just like
yeah,
what All Japan was doing. But it's written in the book. But Mrs. Baba was, the stubborn enough that no, I'm keeping the company, right?
hmm
And yeah, brought in all the independent wrestlers, and got a little bit of help that Muto wanted to work the year 2000 with and still under Keiji Muto, still technically under contract with New Japan, but the New Japan had an idea at the time that they wanted to buy All Japan, right?
Mhm.
So they were running combined show like All Japan and New Japan, like a 5-year too late dream matches, right?
Yeah, there were a couple of those.
Yeah, yeah.
Some were
But
huge. Some were
some are
huge.
good, yeah,
I
yeah.
mean,
But
Kobashi, Kensuke Sasaki is maybe the most memorable of those.
Kobashi and Kensuke,
That would happen a little later,
actually, it wouldn't happen until like 2005,
2005.
though. Yeah, yeah. 2004 was Pro Wrestling Noah's very first Tokyo Dome card. It was Akiyama against Kobashi, and it was the match of the year in the Tokyo Sports Award.
Hmm.
And the match you just said, 2005 Tokyo Dome, second Pro Wrestling Noah's Tokyo Dome show that the Kensuke Sasaki against Kobashi was also a match of the year that year.
Hmm.
Yeah. And they created, GHC title, Global Honor Championship
That's right.
title. Yeah, and of course, sure enough that the Misawa was a very first champion, but it was when 2003 that Kobashi finally beat Misawa in single match to get the title.
That was one of the more memorable calls on commentary. I remember the announcer. I think the announcer was again not Baba, but the announcer was in tears.
Tears, yeah. And also, yeah, before 2003, Kobashi and Misawa had probably dozen single matches, right?
Mhm.
By then, but not one match, Kobashi won. But it wasn't until 2003 at the Budokan, that the very initial, it was still second year, but the early stage of pro wrestling in Noah, that the champion Misawa finally meeting Kobashi for the title match at the Budokan, and Kobashi for the first time beat Misawa for the title.
How many
So
years would that
then,
be? That would be
ever since he was a rookie, yeah,
so
yeah,
more than 10 years.
more than 10 years, yeah, yeah. Well, 88 to 2003, so it'll be like more like 15 years, huh?
It's a long time for a story to pay off.
So it's that hard to beat Misawa in single match situation.
Mm.
Yeah. But this run, 2003 to 2005, he kept the GHC title for 2 years. Yeah. But before that, we gotta rewind the tape a little bit, because now that he had a lot of injuries. Between 2001 and between 2002, um, Kobashi had to take a year off with both knee operation, like a reconstruction, surgeries. Yeah.
The moonsault.
That and like years and years of pounding, right?
Yeah, he
Yeah.
worked a hard style. That's right.
Yeah, and then came back 2002, and the comeback match was interesting. That the Kobashi and Misawa against Akiyama and Yuji Nagata of New Japan.
Hmm.
Yeah, that was interesting. Then worked for a while. Then he had another injury. Pretty soon that. It's like he come back and get injured and come back and get injured, right? So his body was taking toll. The style he's been doing all through '90s, huh?
I mean, and these
And
guys were doing, especially when we talk about hard hitting wrestling, when we think about Kobashi Misawa, those matches
Kawada,
we were
yeah,
just
Kawada
talking.
wasn't involved with pro wrestling, no, but at the time, yes, yeah. And Jun Akiyama and Akira Taue, of course, and
The
with
level
pro
of
wrestling, no,
violence was much higher.
Takayama was involved too. It's not that there's any, like your American like wrestling storyline that nobody really hated each other. It just had athletic, hard hitting match, convincing wrestling match. You know,
And they were pushing the athletic boundaries
I
too.
think so.
Some of
Yeah, I
those
think
guys,
so. Yeah,
they were suplexing each other off of the apron onto the
onto the
floor.
floor. Yeah,
I mean, it was
yeah,
very, it was new. It went
yeah.
further than New Japan was going. I mean, New Japan. It's not like New Japan was any. It was just a different style of it, and especially these
Yeah, I
guys are
think
so
so.
big. They're big
So you
guys.
have to think that's like there must be like the certain kind of trust the only wrestlers share like a code, huh?
Deep,
Yeah,
deep trust and faith in each other to pull off
yeah.
those kind of matches.
Make sure that this guy can take it. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
Yeah. Well, they don't try to injure each other. They just ended up injuring themselves. Yeah. So it's really unfortunate that this kind of injury really happened. And on top of that, 2006, if you remember, that Kobashi had kidney cancer.
That's right.
Yeah, yeah. It was June of 2006, and they really announced it publicly that Kenta Kobashi has cancer. He's taking some time off. And he had surgery, and it took year and 6 months. Yeah, he wouldn't come back until like 2000, December of 2007. At the same time, while he was rehabbing from this kidney cancer, he had another major operation on his both knees. Yeah. And he did come back 2007 at the Budokan show, Misawa Akiyama against Kobashi and Takayama. You would think you lost a lot of weight, right? While he was rehabbing with cancer and had a major operation on both knees. And he was gone for like 18 months.
Mm.
But he came back just as big. So he must really worked out where he could work out, right?
I very much remember the reaction in the crowd
Oh, they're
that night.
all in tears.
It was
Yeah.
maybe one of the high point moments in Kobashi's career when I think about it. I mean, those images you think about when you think Kobashi, those big,
Yeah, well,
memorable moments.
people would be forgiving if he retired then. You know what I'm saying?
Of course, because by
Yeah,
that
but
time, wrestling was in a different state that it was in the 90s.
from 90s, right? But Kobashi said he may come back, and he really did come back that,
Hmm
2007 in December. But at the time he came back though, but all he did was those signature chops. You
Mm.
know what I'm saying?
Chops,
Yeah.
and he would be in a tag team match, and
Right, not quite single match situation anymore. But it looked like Kobashi, but he was doing what he could do. And that's signature Kobashi, the backhand chops. Yeah,
right,
most of the
it
time.
didn't feel like sad, or embarrassing.
No,
He
he
was.
was just it's okay, take a break, right?
Mm.
But he was trying to, give 100% to the audience again. And again, he got injured, I think it was like a following summer, and took this time he operated right elbow, and yeah, it's like an elbow injury this time, and took another 6 months off. It's okay, do not come back, right? But he insisted, he'll come back. So after 6 months in the major elbow operation, he comes back like 2010. Then and then he gets injured again, have another 6 months off. It's okay, do not come back, right? Then he comes back like in 2011 again. Then he gets injured and get 7 months off. And he finally make his announcement year 2012. And then yeah, he didn't almost have to have this retirement match, don't you? What do you think of that? Yeah,
No,
but
like you
he
said, I think if he wanted to have retired in 2007, I don't think
maybe it was a great career he had.
there's
You know,
nothing wrong with clocking out in 2007. He was still respect. It wasn't a point. He didn't have a point in his career where he really dipped in his talent or his athleticism or health. It was
yeah,
always him, and so I think the crowd would have been more than forgiving. And
right. But and also that we should point this out that summer of 2009 we lost Misawa in the ring.
that's right.
Yeah. So I guess that's how Kobashi felt that I'm gonna make one more comeback. Because they lost Misawa in the ring.
That was a giant shift in the makeup of Noah, and
Yeah, yeah. Oh, hasn't been the same since, right?
mm-mm.
So Pro Wrestling Noah is still Pro Wrestling Noah, but it's a different kind of Pro Wrestling Noah. That it's just like today's New Japan Pro Wrestling isn't Antonio Inoki's, All Japan, New Japan Pro Wrestling. Today's All Japan Pro Wrestling isn't Giant Baba's All Japan Pro Wrestling. It still exists, but so Pro Wrestling no, goes on, and they have, current version of Pro Wrestling no, but pretty much around this 2009, 2010, I think like a first that initial era of this Misawa Kobashi version of Pro Wrestling No was over with.
And that was the, yeah, I guess you could use that as the end point. That era,
Yeah,
it was really Taue. I don't know. I can't remember how active he was in 2010, 2011, but
right. And
I
people like Marufuji and Kenta and Sugiura all debuted, already.
mhm. And
Yeah.
Morishima and
Morishima or Makoto Hashi and those people are like in the main event cluster, the group. So it was time to move on, huh?
it felt like that was the end of that era from like 92 to about 2010.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So then all these rookies like a Go Shiozaki or Rikio, these people they debuted with Pro Wrestling Noah, not from All Japan.
That's right. So
Yeah.
they have I think maybe only Marufuji, Kenta, Musugira.
Sugiura didn't even debut with Pro Wrestling, but Kenta was a rookie with All Japan, like
Mm-hmm.
a youngest rookie, like a ring boy rookie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And Kanemaru and oh yeah, Kanemaru
Right,
from
they were rookie. Right, Kanemaru was the very end of All Japan. Yeah.
mm-hmm.
And of course Marufuji. Marufuji was like Misawa's favorite from the day one, and Misawa gave all tights and shoes to Marufuji. So
Mm.
yeah, so that tradition was there, huh?
Yeah, the bloodline it's still there.
Yeah, yeah. So finally, at the spring of 2013, at the age of 46, uh, Kobashi retired finally. 2013 is like almost 10 years ago. It didn't seem like 10 years ago, but yeah, he really retired for good this time.
And we talked about it a little bit earlier, but he didn't necessarily disappear from the business like somebody like Kawada did.
Right. Kawada disappeared on purpose. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Whereas Kobashi stayed a regular
Uh,
part of the scene as
yeah. Yeah.
commentator, promoter, guest
Yeah.
for
He has a Fortune KK company he runs,
yeah.
and he every now and then like twice a year he runs his own show.
Hmm.
Yeah. And Kobashi was probably one of the very few people who can go to All Japan and do the color commentary, and go to Pro Wrestling Noah and be a guest commentator. And he makes appearance at some different companies, different Korakuen shows, and always welcome because walks in like superstar still. Yeah. He carried himself as a superstar. He's retired, but he still look like Kenta Kobashi. You know. I mean, didn't lose it. It's just he wears suits, but he's just as big and probably bigger than today's wrestlers. Some of the today's wrestlers,
Mm.
and he looks like star still.
Yeah, he looks like himself still.
Yeah, he does. Just like the one we thought, that the Masachono's episode from last week. Yeah,
Mm.
Kobashi is another person. He still has this star presence.
And as he's gotten older and since he's retired, he's been able to make appearances all over the world, like in the United States, for signings and meet
Yeah,
and
yeah, he
greets.
should.
He's more accessible, and it was different time in the 90s. So,
And also, he's one of the very few, if not only one, Japanese stars that he didn't tour overseas, in like an excursion, like send you out to overseas and spend a year or two and come back as a superstar, like the formula.
right. There was talk about
Kobashi,
of him
yeah.
doing that, something like I know WWF did want to do something with him in the 90s.
Yeah, and then during the early years of Pro Wrestling Noah, like in 2005, he did go to ROH show and had a famous single match against Samoa Joe.
Hmm. It
Yeah.
felt, it felt like it was a little late
Late, huh?
Unfortunately,
Yeah.
that's how it is. That's no one's
Yeah, and then
fault. But
during 90s, the All Japan wrestler wasn't sent. 'Cause Misawa didn't have a big of a long tour in America either. He went to
mm-mm.
Mexico for like an 8 months period, and he had to come back to be Tiger Mask, right?
Mhm.
Kawada did spend a couple years overseas though, but in San Antonio, Texas, or up in Montreal, but Kawada wasn't exactly main event at the time. See, yeah, I always wonder if Kobashi toured states in his prime time. Yeah,
I wonder how he would have. I don't. It was a different time period, but do you think he would have been received the same way?
but it was decade before the internet or
Mm.
streaming. It was during the VHS tape era, and also where would have toured, because 90s was in like when he was becoming superstars in Japan. It was Monday Night War era.
Hmm.
WWF against WCW, and then the third company ECW, but everything else was pretty much gone. No territories, no smaller companies. This it's different time.
Mm.
Yeah.
So
So
he never had that. There are a handful of superstars that had a massive reputation in Japan that don't have the same reputation overseas. Like Kobashi, fortunately, he did have a chance to come over, and he's still active within the scene, so he's still in everybody's minds. But
mhm,
um,
mhm.
guys like Akira Maeda or Riki Choshu or um, some even like Akira Taue to an extent. I don't know if he's talked about. He's just accepted or perceived a different way here than he is in Japan, and I think
Mhm.
it's exposure. It was harder to
Right,
expose that
different
stuff. That's
exposure.
the
Yeah,
main.
because
It's,
if you don't follow Japanese wrestling, they probably don't know the name. Yeah, some American fans only watch major promotions, you know, and the VHS tape traders, yes, but it's not really mass. And yeah, but you have to watch Misawa against Kobashi or Kobashi against Kawada, Kawada against Taue, all these big four plus Jun Akiyama. Those were the great matches, you
mhm.
know, and yeah, they had to be in their environment too. So I guess now you have to watch all tapes, yeah, footage from all Japan and the early pro wrestling know to really know about Kenta Kobashi.
But I think of any of the wrestlers we talk about, I think Kenta Kobashi is one of the most timeless types of wrestlers you can watch. You can really watch him, and you don't have to be from any generation to appreciate how
And
he
also, I don't
wrestles.
think his matches get old.
Not at
You
all.
can watch his 1993 match today and just you're in awe. Yeah,
Anything from the early '90s until around the
2005,
2007.
six. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Um,
And it's good that those tape exist. You know, and yeah, 90s All Japan into 2000 Pro Wrestling Noah until he got sidelined. He had this two distinctive era, like a peak era, the All Japan, the mid to late 90s into Pro Wrestling Noah's early 2000s.
hmm.
Yeah. Neon, the orange color tights era to black and purple tights era. Triple Crown era to GHC title era.
Hmm.
So those were his peak years. Yeah,
And those are the years. Yeah, go out of your way to watch those. If
I
you're,
think so.
I
I think
think,
so.
um, and yeah, like I'm just gonna reiterate, he's timeless. You can
Yeah.
watch. He's a type of wrestler. I don't know how to put it other than he always had the answer at the right time. He could do the right thing he needed to do at the right time, and he
Then
knew how to.
he's there to take it. You know what I mean?
He had such a unique energy, like a aura almost. it's really easy to get behind a guy like Kenta Kobashi. He's a natural baby
Natural baby face.
definition of a natural baby face.
Natural baby face. Oh,
Any
yeah.
scene, he can go anywhere,
hmm
and it's so fundamentally good and sound.
I kind of don't think he really, felt, was thinking he was babyface. He just was being himself, though.
Which actually makes him more of a
A babyface.
babyface.
Yes, right. As a
It's
result.
organic. It's
hmm
organic. It's who he is.
Oh, very organic, right? Natural. So
He
yeah,
he never really wavered in his his personality. He's not like last week we talked about Masahiro Chono, and he had a transformation, and his career
and also
character.
he's like a cool character. Yeah,
A very different approach too.
different approach. Kobashi came from countryside. He came to Tokyo and he became a wrestler. And against all odds, he became such a big superstar.
Mhm.
You know, and then
Didn't
wrestling.
do. He wasn't focused on doing anything special. He was focused on doing everything perfectly and uh, as strong as he could.
Yeah, and then he wasn't exactly a wrestler who could only work against Japanese. He had tag team combination with people like Johnny Ace, Patriot. He had series of single match against Stan Hansen. He had single matches with Vader, and with tag team tournament, he had all the like a so-called Gaijin crew on him, right? So yeah, so he could work with everybody like Gary Albright, all these.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's interesting to think about what else he could have done if he were to be able
To
to
go
come.
overseas and see the
Sure.
world.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It
But
just didn't happen that way. But now that we're closing the year 2022, now I guess we have to go back and watch Kobashi's matches in his prime time.
let's do that.
Yeah, I'll do that. Yeah. Yeah, handful of matches. I have to watch it. It's like this version of Misawa single match, this version of Misawa Kun, and the Kobashi against Kawada match, or this version of Kobashi against Stan's match, and yeah, and Stan elevated him too, from
Hmm.
like treating him like a young guy, treating him like a becoming star guy, treating him like equal, and I guess he gave Stan longevity too, huh?
Yeah, and I mean,
Yeah.
he started using the lariat after that match, and that's always a nod to Stan, so it's in him as well.
Giant Baba was almost against, Kobashi's idea to bring right arm clothesline, as a finish because it's somebody else's and do something else like jumping neck breaker drop, like what Giant Baba would do in the big matches,
Hmm.
which Kobashi was using in his rookie years. Yeah,
But I think over time it became one of the defining parts of his matches,
yeah,
and his big wins were with that. A lot of his big wins were with
yes.
that.
And finally, Kobashi beat Stan Hansen 1, 2, 3 in the middle of the ring with his right arm clothesline.
That
That's
was
like
big.
yeah, that was like a end of an era too. Also,
And I don't think Kawada even had a win over Hansen, did he?
Stan Hansen, I don't recall that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so it's another reason why Stan Hansen was pretty important in Kobashi's career.
yeah, and I think Stan Hansen chose him to be that person.
Hmm.
I mean, nobody beat Stan Hansen 1, 2, 3 in the middle of the ring, right?
Very, very
Very rare.
rarely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was Stan's choice or choosing to do so. Yeah.
Hmm. So
Wow.
Kenta Kobashi, yeah. I guess the
Yeah.
homework
So
is
yeah,
to watch
we
videos.
could talk about Kobashi all night long, but yeah.
But yeah, he's still active. His story isn't really over because he's out and about, and he's still doing the Fortune KK shows, and
And
he's
I
on
think
All
he
Japan
might be the
commentary
only
sometimes.
person available or only person uh that the capable of bringing all Japan Pro Wrestling and Pro Wrestling Noah onto same table to do the All-Star match or something.
He is that kind of ambassador type character,
Don't you think?
like a
Yeah.
Keiji or some Masachono, somebody like that.
So I think he still have major role. in wrestling.
He still has a lot of influence on the scene.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
All right. So if we have questions about Kenta Kobashi, where can we reach you, Fumi?
On Twitter at Fumihiko Dayo, FUMIHIKODAYO. How friendly.
All right. And on Twitter, I'm at Justin M. Nipper, KNIPPER. That's it for this week. Until next time, happy Thanksgiving. And
Happy
Fumi,
Thanksgiving.
yes, take it away.
So long from Tokyo.